Well, welcome to All Things DSO with Brian Colao. Thanks everyone for tuning in to our inaugural episode. I look forward to working together with you, Brian, helping to unwrap some of your industry knowledge that may be helpful to groups and DSOs. I'm excited to kick off these monthly talks with you. I am Carlos Vallecillo. I lead the enterprise here at Planet DDS, where our aim is to unleash dentists and their staff to focus on patient care. Before we dive in, Brian, I'm going to highlight a little bit of your background. You are the director of Dykema's law firm Dental Service Organization Group. You've been in the industry for nearly 30 years, widely regarded as one of the foremost authorities in the United States on DSO formation, DSO business structure, DSO-related mergers and acquisition, and the full array of regulatory compliance requirements for DSOs. If that were not enough, you were named the 2019 DSO Influencer by Group Dentistry Now, the 2023 Thought Leader of the Year by Planet DDS, and 2023 Influencer of the Year by the Dental Socials. It's an honor to be here with you. Brian, before we begin, is there anything you'd like to share?
Well, this is our inaugural episode, you and me, Carlos, but I've had a long history with Planet DDS, and we had a lot of shows that we did in 2020 and 2021. And, sort of after the pandemic, everybody got back to work for a little bit. But now I'm so excited to be back here again with Planet DDS doing these shows.
And we're excited to have you. And me personally, it's an honor. I've seen you speak on stage many times, so it's great to have a conversation with you. This is the first of many conversations that you and I have. So I really look forward to see how this develops and all the topics that we're going to cover. The reason that we asked Brian to headline this podcast series is not only because he has a pulse on the broad macro trends that influence the DSO space, but also because thought leaders like Brian have unique access to data points and corresponding insights that perhaps the rest of the industry might not. Without further ado, Brian, if it's okay, I'll start with some questions for you.
Terrific.
Since we are at the starting gates of 2024, it's only appropriate that we explore what we can expect from this year. The cost of money is the highest it's been since 2001. What, in your opinion, has been the impact on the DSO industry?
Yeah, look, it's really challenging now, Carlos. You have interest rates pretty much at a 30-year high or a 20 or 30-year high. You've got the cost of labor is as high as it's almost ever been in the history, of the dental industry. Inflation is still, it's still troublesome. It's maybe come down a little bit from where it was last year, but it's still troublesome. So the cost of goods is very, very high. The cost of money is very, very high. And it's tricky out there right now. There's been a significant slowdown in M&A activity that started around late 2022 and continued, for the whole 2023. And, it's a great question what we have in store. January was pretty much very similar to the way 2023 has been, but, there's hope. Okay, the interest rates are coming down. This is a presidential election year. Maybe there's some hope we'll get some new policies, that'll sort of happen. And as the interest rates continue, we hope to tick down this year. There's a lot of money on the sideline and a lot of opportunity for some deals and some exciting, things to happen. So, I hold out a good amount of optimism for 2024, but it's still tricky. It's still very challenging relative to, 2018, 19, even 2020 after COVID kind of exploded. 2021 was really, really strong, but, it's still kind of tricky relative to those record years we had.
I love that you speak about hope, and I hear you say tricky. It reminds me of your session at the Yankee this year, at the Yankee meeting. You had a great slide where you talked about the Great Recession, the Great Recovery, all of that. And then for 2024, you had the Great Uncertainty.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's uncertain. there's been additional uncertainty added, in October with the unrest in the Middle East. So you had global political issues. You had the Ukraine war, which did contribute to an extent, certain president, this is not a political show, but certain presidents had said, the Ukraine war led to inflation. I mean, it contributed to it. There were other things like too much money flooding the marketplace after COVID, too much government money. But, you had the Ukraine war, then you had the, Israeli conflict that occurred, in October, and now there's unrest over there. So you've got those two things still going on. They've not been resolved. You do have this difficult situation where the economy is going strong, which usually contributes to increasing interest rates, but the interest rates are really, really high. So we want to lower them, but yet the last couple jobs
Right.
reports are really strong. So it's, at least if you study, the economy and you study the way the Fed acts and the things that they do with interest rates, the environment is not a terrific one right now where everyone says, oh yeah, let's do all these interest rate cuts. You usually don't do that when you have a really strong, unemployment rate and a really strong economy. So, there's uncertainty as to whether the interest rates are going to come down. And if they do, just how far they're going to come down. They got to come down pretty good. One or two interest rate reductions is not necessarily going to reignite the marketplace the way we want it to. So there's a lot of uncertainty as to what's going to happen there. There's a lot of uncertainty with this presidential election. I mean, there could be a dramatic swing. I mean, the policies that the Republicans, and the good question is, what Republican, right? There's one Republican, but then there's all these court challenges and all these criminal charges and everything going on. So you got to wonder, what Republican is going to run for office. And then certainly if the Republicans win, there's a dramatic difference in policy versus if President Biden gets reelected. So all of this, Carlos, has created to a tremendous uncertainty out there. And, I think things will get a little more certain as the months pass, but we're only first week of February here. There's a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you laid it out pretty clearly, how the year's going to look. I'd like to play a little word or phrase association with you and just kind of get your opinion. The first one I had, you already tackled, so I'm not going to go through that. But unemployment, unemployment is a tricky issue. We have, even what you had on your slide, a lot of the clinical staff members in dental still not wanting to come back to work. The word unemployment, what comes to mind for you with the DSO space?
Yeah, inapplicable would be the word that comes to mind. In certain other segments of the economy, yeah, people are unemployed and it's hard to come by jobs. It's not hard to come by jobs in the DSO and the dental industry right now. We have a lot of vacancies to fill, and by and large, the industry is very short-staffed. And we'd love to get, couple 5,000-10,000 more people injected into the marketplace. They're just not there, or they're there and they're not available yet, and we're hoping that they will be, because you can overcome staff shortages through some innovation. But in the end of the day, there are certain chairside things that can only be done by live human beings. And if you don't have a live human being, it sort of impairs your ability to expand. You may have a great idea to open up another office or to open up several more chairs in the office that you have. But if you cannot staff that, you can't do it, and it limits growth.
Yeah. So what, just to pivot for a second, with regard to technology and automation, where are some areas of opportunities for practice management solutions, for partners of electronic solutions to help DSOs so that it can take over and not require so much human interaction?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many functions, billing and collecting a lot. The automation is getting so strong with that. I got it where I've said this on stage before. I'll say it here. I love my dentist, but maybe I've not been just because I'm busy. I mean, just because I've been so busy, I've not been the most timely person, to pay my bills because I just lose track of them. And whenever I come for my visit, they would tell me what I owe and I pay it. And everybody was okay with that, but that's not the best thing for the dental office. The dental office wants to send a bill and
Right?
get paid. And since my office recently went to the automated one where now I get a text and it's like you just click on this text and your credit card's all taken care of and you can pay. I've started as busy as I am. I could be on an airplane. I've been at 30,000 feet and I've clicked that thing
Correct.
and paid the bill up there. So automation has really helped, with billing and collecting and notifications and stopping live human beings from having to make phone calls or call people. That's been one of the ways where you can make up for shortages of staff. If you don't have people that can make phone calls or send bills out, automation can really help with that. Help with appointment reminders, a lot of things that traditionally required an actual phone call and a human being to be engaged. You don't need that anymore, and you can make up for a lot of staffing shortages that way.
Absolutely. I had the same situation with my dentist. They'll send me a bill. They have no capability of me paying
Yeah.
online or through text. So they're going to wait because I'm not going to send credit card information over the mail. And I certainly am not going to pick up the phone and call. That's just takes too
Yeah,
much
for
time.
busy professionals, that's the way it is. I mean, I'm not trying to stiff anybody. I always pay my dentist in the end
Absolutely.
everything that's owed. But sometimes if they don't have the automation, I just can't do it till the next time I'm in there or something. And there's a lot of patients, like that. But if you are able to, leverage automation or use some of these innovative technologies, it definitely increases the bottom line. You'll get paid a lot quicker.
Absolutely. Then my final category for phrase association is consumer sentiment or patient sentiment.
Yeah, people go to the dentist. Dentistry has always been historically, last 100 years or more, virtually recession proof. It proved to be pandemic proof in the end of the day. Except for a very short period of time where the government actually told people they couldn't go to the dentist. Once they stopped that nonsense, and yes, Carlos, I called it nonsense when it was going on, and years later, I still think it's nonsense. But people go to the dentist. That's why dentistry is one of the most exciting and one of the most incredible sectors of the economy. So, patient sentiment has been strong. I mean, it has. I have not heard any reports of patients not going to the dentist. I mean, it is true in some of the challenging economic conditions, maybe some elective things, teeth whitening, some aligner treatments, some
Veneers.
orthodontic treatments, yeah, suffered a little bit because they are elective in a lot of ways. And, you can postpone them a year or 6 months, while you're, getting your economic house in order. So some of those things have suffered a little bit, some cosmetic procedures, but mostly all through the last 2 years of what I would call these challenging economic conditions, people have continued to go to the dentist. And the patient sentiment is we're going to go to the dentist. If we need to go see the dentist, whether it's for routine cleanings or there's cavity or some reason, or God forbid, we're in pain, people are going to the dentist. And I haven't seen, any reduction in that for the most part, other than some elective procedures.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. All right, so back to your Yankees, your talk at the Yankee Summit earlier this year. You shared that in the next 15 years, market consolidation will increase from 30% to over 75%. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking about this for a long time, Carlos. I never grow tired of talking about it. I'm glad you asked the question. There's a great evolution and consolidation of dentistry going on, from solo dentist-owned practices or small group dentist-owned practices to DSOs. That evolution has been going on since at least 2010 or so, and it really accelerated between 2015 and 2021 or 22. It's still going on now. It's a little slower because of the interest rates and the challenging market conditions, but the consolidation is still continuing. We're about 31, 32% market consolidation now. We feel like in 15 years, it's going to be 75, 80%. That's quite frankly what is going on right now. I see no other than, the interest rates have slowed it down a little bit, but they haven't stopped the consolidation. The consolidation is continuing. I think eventually the interest rates are going to go down. If I can't tell you whether it's first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, but they're
Sure.
going to go down eventually, and the consolidation is going to accelerate even faster than it is right now. So, we feel 15 years from now it's going to be 80% consolidated. There'll always be a place if you're a solo practitioner and you just want to do your own business. There'll always be a place for that at some level, but the overwhelming majority of the market will be consolidated into DSOs in the next 15 years.
So what, in your opinion, can emerging DSOs do to prepare themselves to increase their EBITDA, their valuation, if they want to eventually look at being sold to a PE firm or to a larger DSO?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a lot you could do, but trying to give a Reader's Digest version of the answer, a shorter version of the
Sure.
answer is, you need to do a couple things. One, you need to leverage all the innovations available to you to increase same-store growth, whether it's utilizing artificial intelligence for diagnostics, whether it's using revenue cycle management, RCM products out there to shorten your revenue cycle times, whether it's getting the more up to date practice management software in place that can track your EBITDA and track your KPIs, key performance indicators in real time. You need to sort of take a look at that. Patient finance is a huge thing. Having an innovative patient finance platform that can help patients that need treatment but can't afford it right away get financing. All of these sort of things, you want to leverage a membership plan if you don't have one, or a discount or a membership plan. You want to look at your procurement and the way you're procuring supplies and make sure you're maximizing the discounts available to you and utilizing, your formulary the right way. All of these innovations can increase your same store growth. So that's one thing, you want to do. The second thing is you want to evaluate your overhead. You want to make sure your overhead is as low as it can possibly be. You've cut out any redundancies or inefficiencies. You want to look at your payer mix, make sure your payer mix is optimized for what it needs to be. And if you can you can put infrastructure in place where necessary, not too much. You don't want too much overhead, but necessary. You don't want to have dusty boxes in your attic. You want to have it, some mix between having the right amount of infrastructure in place and not going overboard. If you can do all of these things, you can properly prepare yourself for a future equity event. Also want to look at your financials. It may make sense to go from cash accounting to accrual accounting. It may also make sense to just make sure, you've got properly prepared financials. Sometimes you outgrow your unsophisticated bookkeeper and you got to go to a more professional way of keeping track of the finances, of your practice. If you can do all of those things, Carlos, then you're going to be properly prepared for a future equity event. It's going to be smoother.
No, that's excellent advice. And like you said, that's the cliff notes, right? There's got to be consulting, there's got to be in-depth look and evaluation, but that's a great direction for these organizations to go to. I'm going to pivot a little bit to taxes. So we've heard that the tax code is so outdated that January 1st, when it kicks in, it's already out of date. Are there any major changes to the law in 2024 that our listeners should be aware of for DSOs?
Not really. If you're a solo practice or a group practice or a DSO, there's nothing dramatic, that's occurring in 24 from 23. Now, we're always, depending on the presidential election and whoever our president is, there may be some new policies that will occur in, say, 2025, depending on who the new president is going to be. But right now, no. If you whatever you did in 23 is basically there might be a few little things, nits and gnats here or there, but by and large, what you did in 2023 is applicable to 2020.
Is there a specific tax incentive that DSOs are not typically taking advantage of
Not
that they
really.
should be?
Not really. There was talk when Trump was elected way back when, he was in his first term, that they were going to change the tax code. And if you were providing non-clinical support services like a DSO, you were going to get a big tax break. That never really materialized the way they thought it was going to materialize. So there's not really been any, how should I say, significant tax development since then. Since the first year or two of Trump's term as president, we were wondering what was going to happen and everybody was watching it closely. But since those tax, cuts didn't really materialize the way they thought they would materialize, since that time, there's really not been any developments, significant developments. There's always little things, but nothing significant.
Excellent. So I'm going to pivot to you a little bit. You've been both representing the buy side and sell side of mergers and acquisitions. Is there something our listeners would be surprised to hear about your journey as a lawyer in the DSO space?
Well, I mean, Carlos,
that you can share. That you can share on the.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, this is what I always tell. This is the little joke that I tell. Nobody goes to law school to be the dental guy. Nobody does that. Okay, if you told me when I was in law school, write down on a piece of paper 50 things you might be. We don't know yet, but make a list of 50 things. The dental lawyer would not, it just wouldn't have appeared. I don't know. I could tell you the top 5 or 10. If I was really stretching for the next 30 or 40, dental lawyer would not have been there. But that's what happened for me. It was a by chance thing. In literally my first year at being a lawyer, a very inexperienced lawyer, 90 orthodontists came in the front door and they had a problem, and it involved the very first, DSOs in history. They made a lot of mistakes. They're nothing like the DSOs we have today. It was the first attempt at it in the 1990s. And, that began my dental career, really. And I never looked back since. I mean, I used to do other things. I would say in the 90s and early 2000s, it was probably 50% dentistry and 50% something else. But right around 2010 or 11, when the really great consolidation started, it's been almost 100%, dental stuff. And it was just, maybe people would want to know if this all happened by chance. There was no design to this. I never in my wildest dreams thought I was going to be, the dental lawyer, but that's what happened.
Yeah, I'm in this industry by chance as well, and I love it. I love this industry, the people, the innovation, the collaboration. It has been a thrill ride, and I've been in it for as long as you have.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, it's a wonderful industry. I mean, it's been I never, again, in law school would have never guessed I'd be in the dental industry, but it's an incredible industry, and I've really loved just about every part of being in this industry.
Yeah, awesome. So your Dykema DSO conference is one of my favorites. I'm not saying it because you're here. I say it to people all the time. I was so looking forward to your conference in 2021. That was probably the best of the Dykemas that I have attended. This year, it's July 10th through the 12th, again, at the Gaylord Rockies Resort in Colorado. I know you can't talk a lot about it, but this is your 11th year. Is there any sneak peek you can give our listeners?
Yes, I will give you. No, there's a little bit I can talk about. We're going to be making announcements. Carlos, you got to allow us our own drama and our own dramatic announcements as we do it. But this is what I'm going to say. We have the most powerful 3 hours in the history of the DSO industry. I have personally curated that content, put that together. We're going to be announcing, the specific speakers as we get a little closer, but it's basically going to be 10, 15-minute segments with actionable content you can take away. It's going to be supported by case studies and data. Nobody's ever tried this in the history of these conferences. We're going to go, we're just going to go like some type of, death march for 3 hours. We're just going to go and we're going to present all these 15-minute, segments, and it's going to end up with an incredible segment on leadership by Steve Bilt at Smile Brands. Then there'll be a state of the industry address by Pat Bauer. We've got 2 really incredible celebrity keynote speakers. And the theme of the event, Carlos, is prepare to be inspired. And I'm backing that up. I've said that to everybody. I'm backing that up. Prepare to be inspired at this event because I think it's going to be incredible.
Well, I am prepared. I'm looking forward to it. And last question, a very timely question. Who do you think will win the Super Bowl this weekend?
Well, I will be there. Okay, I'm excited. I don't get
Oh,
to
that's
go to the
awesome.
Super Bowl often, but I'm going to this Super Bowl, so I'm really, really excited. And I think it's the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, I'm not really a big Chiefs fan, to be perfectly honest, and I feel like they keep winning, and it's always the Chiefs. And I'd love to see somebody else, maybe at this point, San Francisco, win one. But the Chiefs look pretty unbeatable. They really seem like they are peaking at the right time. They weren't that great earlier in the year, but they have peaked at the right time. And I'm picking the Kansas City Chiefs at this point in time. But mostly, I'm just excited to be in Vegas, the dental capital of the world, Las Vegas, and I'm going to be there for a Super Bowl. And I'm really looking forward to that.
Congratulations. That's going to be a blast. And you heard it here first, the
Yeah.
Chiefs. So closing thoughts. Brian, I'll pass it over to you, then I'll close, and then we'll thank everybody and wind it down.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting year, or Mike. I mean, I know we're going to get together quite a few times, so it's not like some of these shows, they hear from me in January and then they don't see me till the next January. No, we're going to be back together and we're going to be talking about these things. We're talking about right now as we sit here, first week of February. It's tricky. There's a lot of uncertainty, and we're going to be studying, developments with the presidential candidates and the elections that we'll know as we get further into this. We're going to be studying the interest rates and cost of money. We're going to be studying the cost of labor. Right now it's led to a decent amount of uncertainty, but I have a lot of hope. I mean, and not just sort of like a Hail Mary, like I hope it happens. No, I really think there's a very good chance we're going to see a good rebound, this year in M&A markets and things. It's a little too soon to tell for sure, but that's one of the things I'm excited about. Planet DDS has committed to a extensive series of, sit downs that we're going to have on this show. So I can't wait, as we get into March and April and May, studying this in a lot more detail, because we'll know a lot more about what to expect this year. But right now it's still a little tricky, but I have a lot of hope and optimism.
Thank you. I think that's very important. I think that there's been a lot of uncertainty for a long time, and I think that hope and optimism is very important. I'm looking forward to a regular conversation with you. One of the things I love about every new year is all of the surprises and or for unforeseen events that the year brings. So I'm looking forward to being able to talk about the things that are happening with you along the way.
I hope we have some good ones. The last couple of years, it was like, the Ukraine war, then the Middle East conflict. I hope, and there will be unforeseen things. You're absolutely right. I hope there'll be positive things. I hope we'll see some
Agreed.
unforeseen positive things that happen.
Agreed, 100%. Well, to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next month. And if you'd like to learn more about Planet DDS, we invite you to visit our website or visit us on LinkedIn. Join us again next month as we continue the conversation on all things DSO with Brian Colao. Brian, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Carlos. This is great. Look forward to next month.